Before we get into today's video, a little word of warning. While the settings of this game are relatively tame for the most part, there are a couple things I do need to bring up. One, make sure to rebind your controller inputs if you happen to be using a controller, otherwise you may end up with issues pertaining to the right stick on your controller for camera and the shoulder buttons. I had a moment where, and sadly I don't have footage of this, Sonic was turning at the same direction the camera was turning, leading to an uncontrollable and nauseating time. But more importantly, you'll want to play this game on either Amy's sight or weak. I mean, you can play the game on normal computer room or ultimate, but word of warning, you're going to have a bad time with the second stage. And not a good bad time, like an actually bad time. Trust me. Danekomata! My name's Sage Blake. I'm a wanderer, storyteller, artist and mature, and I learned how to swim about 3 summers ago. I can only do dog paddle, but that'll work, right? Fortunately, we won't be needing to learn how to swim, because we're playing Sonic Liquid Survival today. A fan game that's got some inspiration, but while it's fun, I do have a couple issues with it, and I'll get into those in turn. In terms of the settings, it's, well, if you can see it here, it's relatively standard stuff. Inversions, music, sound, language. There's also an adventure mode to the game with little bits of story here and there, but we're going to be going into the arcade mode and playing the 3 stages of the demo. Yeah, you heard me right, there are only 3 stages of the demo. But there's also something else I need to bring up too, and that is that, with the exception of 2 particular characters, each and every stage has 3 hidden capsules within them. You'll later see one of the capsules for a brief second in the second video that I do on this, but for now, just take my word on it. There are 3 capsules, step on them, you unlock a character. One of those characters I ended up getting was Classic Sonic, believe it or not. And each of these characters have slightly different stats in terms of their abilities. And even some of them have different special techniques as well. It's up to you if you want to look around for them to use them or not. But more importantly, on this first stage, we get into some of the big things that you'll notice about this game. Whatever engine that the dev decide to use, I'll probably have a little depiction of that. It's really easy to pick up speed, no matter what you do, no matter where you are. If you roll on a good enough incline, it's really easy to pick up speed and keep that speed. But while this is cool and all, this can also lead to some issues, especially when you're ascending slopes. Sometimes it just doesn't work, sometimes you just fling off of it, like I did right there. And other times you can kinda ascend certain types of slopes by zigzagging or spacing permitted, going up them at a very specific angle. I'm not showing that off right here. Gah. But regardless, you get my point on that one. There are also 7 special stages in the game. I have recorded up to the 5th of them currently. I'm not sure yet as to whether I'll record all of them. Likely not, but just so you know, all 7 special stages do exist in the game, and we'll get to my opinions on those in a moment. For now, a few things I need to talk about, including Sonic's moveset, are as follows. Simple jump, simple homing attack. You'll target anything that's in front of you and not around you, so be wary of that. You can also perform a bounce move by hitting a certain button. You can gain height every time you bounce up to a certain amount of bounces, and that can be used to access slightly out-of-the-way areas. You could also tuck into a roll, which makes you move so much faster, and I recommend using this as your basic move for transportation in every single stage. The special stages especially, you have a very tight time limit of 3 minutes. And within these giant wireframe areas, for lack of a better term, you're going to get to find 3 switches, and the easiest way to do so is by rolling around and abusing the gravity system. You could fling yourself really far if you know how to use it. If you don't, this is a good excuse to learn how to use it. Because trust me, you're gonna need it. I mean, if you're not using it, then it is pretty much physically impossible for you to find the switches, especially since they emanate a little glowy aura that you can easily see and hopefully get to. Sometimes you'll be able to see the auras from where you start out. Sometimes you won't be able to, and that requires a lot of exploration in order to be able to find them in the first place. I do a bad job of that. But regardless, after hitting all 3 switches, you head back to where you started, pick up your emerald, and voila, special stage complete. Pretty simple. And honestly, I love these special stages. I'm sick of the half-pipes, I'm sick of the blue sphere. I just want a proper physics fun toy, and this game happens to give that for a special stage, and I love that. It gives you an excuse to get a good feel for the engine and master it, which not too many fan games really let you do. Though in order to access the special stages, you need to pick up 50 rings and hit a checkpoint. It has to be a fresh checkpoint, mind you. I've tried with others. And sadly, this means that your chances to get special stages are pretty finite per run. If you end up having to hit every single checkpoint along the way, then I'm sorry, you're going to have to restart the stage from the beginning just so you can get those special stages again. Bright side though, the game does keep track of your progress, and sadly, this also means that I can't show off the first special stage, which is the easiest of them, specifically because it's saved my progress, and we started on special stage 2. Lol. But while I do enjoy the stages within the game for the most part, the boss fights are incredibly lackluster. Like, incredibly lackluster. Like, easier than the Wrecking Ball boss type lackluster. Look at this. Look at this. He's supposed to be following me with that little spike plate, but he's not even trying! Eggman, come on! Ow! Come on me! Jeez. His 300 IQ versus my whatever it is, probably 100. Turns out, I'm a bit of a dumb. But the point I'm trying to make is, I wish these boss fights were a little harder, or at least a little more engaging than they end up being, because seriously, they're kind of a snore. I officially cannot say that for the second stage, however, because this is where the quality that you're playing the game on matters, believe it or not. We'll see the result of that later, but trust me when I say... But regardless, Bright Brook here is honestly not that bright, and nor am I, considering I pretty much gave my life away to that river right there. Way to go, me. Regardless, this place is pretty open, and you might be, sadly, vulnerable to certain little bits of water here and there that really don't look like they could kill you, but turns out even the tiniest of puddles, Sonic just decides to throw his life away in. Okay, I was kidding, me! You don't need to throw your life away. Okay, seriously, you don't need to throw your life away. Stop it. Though honestly, this is actually a bit of a glitch, I think, with the coding. I think it's just saving the vector of my movement so it can reload it the moment I die. Lovely. But there are a lot of floating platforms in this area that you're going to need to jump across in order to get to, well, the goal. It's not a bad stage, honestly, and according to lore, this place is supposedly infected with some of the fallout from the Phantom Ruby. Yes, the story of this game involves the Phantom Ruby. Specifically, it involves the end of Sonic Forces 1, and the Avatar character as well makes an appearance too. But regardless, Phantom Ruby or no, it would explain some things as to why the quality does what it does on certain settings. I'm sorry, it's a really simple stage to pick through here. Though while I'm at it, I might as well say that one of my bigger issues with at least the first 2 stages is that it's a bit on the rough side. Don't get me wrong, I like playing around with the physics. I like all the terrain that I get to navigate. It feels very natural. It feels very Sonic-like. But at the same right, there are many moments, and very many moments at that, where the placements of rings, enemies, and what have you just don't properly line up. Like, to the point that you need to jump in order to reach some of them sometimes. And it's a little weird. One of the comments on the Sonic forums, on the Sage forums, aptly summarized it like, the dev seems... it felt like the dev essentially just took the emboss tool and used it to create the terrain. Again, I can kind of see that, but at the same right, it's what also creates this very flowing terrain that I'm completely abusing right now. Sonic, that's a practically 90-degree angle. You're not supposed to be able to walk on that. It's not supposed to go at an angle. Ugh. Hedgehogs, am I right? They abuse physics the moment you look at them the right way. And even when you don't look at them the right way, now that I'm thinking about it. But yeah, this entire game has like well, actually, it doesn't exactly struggle, but it has a bit of a duality to it. On the one hand, it has clear inspirations with 3D Sonic games, and it goes out of its way to not only act as a love letter to them, but also as a way to do its own thing. But at the same right, it also feels more than a bit rough and, in some places, a bit rushed. Sonic rushed, maybe. And speaking of which, I just completely rushed by the emeralds. God damn, 4th Chaos Emerald, jeez. If you'd believe it, this emerald actually did take me a couple attempts to get. Maybe it's just something to do with how all the terrain works and whatnot, but for the life of me, I just kept falling off the stage. Ugh. I also fall off the stage for the 5th Emerald too, and that one's a bit more egregious. We'll get to that in a bit, but for now... Do you remember when I said that this place was infected by the fallout from the Phantom Ruby? Do you like giant birds? Seriously. This thing has scared a few streamers, and definitely caused a bit of shock value for other people as well. I mean, holy heck, what the hem is that doing there? I wish I could also say the same for this boss. Holy hem, why is Eggman so easy? I actually do die on this attempt, but that was a cheap shot. And the strategy I end up using for this thing is, laughable. I essentially just homing attack this guy, then realize, oh wait, couldn't I just use the bounce attack to reset my timing? And I abuse that. And this boss becomes a complete and utter cakewalk. I'm sorry, Eggman, but as it turns out, lasers are just not your forte. Maybe you need to invest in another killer robot or something. Who knows? I'm going to give a verbal warning. If you're very photosensitive or seizure-prone, do not look at what's going to be on screen. Trust me, this is the fastest way to get to the hospital, and you don't want to spend that much time there. Trust me, again, you do not want to play a stage that looks like this. Ugh, it looks so bad. I challenged myself at several points to try and play through the entire stage with this blinding effect on the screen. But holy hell, is it difficult! Like, you can't even see what's in front of you. Most of the time, this is bad. I want to say that it's just the fog texture in this area completely and utterly glitching out on the higher quality settings, but no! I refuse. I refuse to play this madness. I'm just going to jump off the cliff right now and pretend that nothing ever happened. Bye!